Our resolution, there are things we should not joke about.
I really believe that comedy can really help, but it needs to be balanced with compassion and respect for those who are the butt of the jokes. And in the last 20 years, I personally have seen and responded to an increased number of school shootings. And I can honestly tell you from my very first experience with responding to uh, putting children in zippered body bags, um, using comedy to deflect from the real and deeply concerning gun violence in our schools and other public places doesn't always work for the victims.
I believe there aren't things we shouldn't joke about. I am a stand-up comedian. I've been doing comedy for a long time. Comedy occurring in darkness, it becomes light, it becomes joy, and it's a way of linking me to others in the darkest of times. And so to have liberation, to joke about anything and talk about anything, that to me as an artist, I need that. I will say I get the biggest laughs, I get the biggest response when it's coming from my own experience.
Joking is a beautiful gift for us as humans, but it's a volatile gift, and we have to use it with some mindfulness and some care. So I would suggest, I think we shouldn't joke about things that cause people great suffering. And I think we shouldn't joke in ways that diminish our compassion for others and normalize cruelty and injustice. We have to ask about the context for any joking, though. You know, who's telling and who's listening? Joking about something with people at work might not be okay in the way that the same joke might be okay with just you and your spouse or your partner or your closest friends.
I'm speaking against the resolution tonight, not because I think every joke is worthwhile, funny, or even appropriate, but because I believe humor is essential to managing difficult emotions. Humor is a crucial tool for processing emotionally challenging experiences. Laughter takes the edge off our shame and our fear and makes the darkness seem a little less pervasive.
I stand in support of this resolution not because I lack a sense of humor, but because I like how good it feels when I'm heard, respected, and understood. Let's be clear that most political jokes, especially the ones aimed at people with opposing views, are not crafted thoughtfully or respectfully. They're blurted out, said without pause, often fueled by frustration, sarcasm, or the desire to feel clever at someone else's expense.
I think there's two reasons why we should be able to laugh about everything or joke about anything. And the first one, I think, is that it provides real social commentary. And when we talk about social commentary, we're talking about making sure that people are able to share experiences. I think the second reason why we should be able to make jokes about anything is that it's a self-correcting system. I'm a speech and communication professor, so discourse is really important to me. A dialogue is necessary for learning, and we talk about needing information and having that open information to have that constant evaluation and analysis.
I see my beloved liberal friends on Facebook and Instagram regularly posting images of Donald Trump where his body, his face, and his hair are being lampooned. There's a cruelty to the humor. It seems that we weaken ourselves, we weaken our arguments, we weaken our position by being jerks. I love humor. I grew up on Monty Python, right? Triumph, the insult comic dog, makes me die. But Triumph is playing with his insults and he's saying it to the person. And he's silly, right? He's not cruel.
Because just as there are helpful and hurtful things that we can say about anything, there are helpful and hurtful jokes that we can make about anything. I think we should be able to joke mindfully about everything. It helps us reflect on our perspective and our feelings. Some things are funny because they're true. Some things are funny because they're not true. Some things they make us laugh, and then they make us think about how we actually feel about what we just laughed at.
what constitutes a joke is in the eye of the beholder and in the context. And I'm curious as to how many of the women in this room, especially women of a certain age, like myself, have heard the phrase in a business or a professional context, you just can't take a joke. Especially when referring to jokes about dumb blondes, boobs, sex, clothes, etc. And these jokes were intended to be funny only to a certain subset of the people in the room, and they were intended to diminish, disempower, disparage, and even humiliate some of the people to whom they were told.
Humor has been an important weapon for people agitating against the powers that be for as long as man has been civilized.
This concludes the speeches part of the debate. I thank you all for it.